Hello everybody! A year ago, I published a video in which I spent 100 hours playing Anno 1800, and I thought, what if I did the same in Satisfactory and incorporated time lapses of factory creations and telling you the challenges and the stories that came from it. So this is what I did, and here's the first part of the video encompassing 25 hours in Satisfactory. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first 4 hours, I spent my time creating some starter factories for iron plates, iron rods, screws, copper wire, cable, reinforced iron plates, rotors, and concrete. I chose to unlock obstacle clearing quite early on in order to make solid biofuel, which would allow me to fill my biomass generators with much longer lasting fuel, giving me a lot more time between harvests for electricity production. After about 2 hours, I built my first foundation and started putting my hub and my future factories on foundations. By the end of the first 4 hours, I had built the space elevator and finished phase 1, which meant I could finally unlock energy resource gathering independence, since the next thing I did was create a 900 megawatt coal power plant. I also did some exploring and research, allowing me to unlock the blade runners as well as the zipline, which made moving around a lot quicker and a lot easier. But all of this exploring meant that between 4 to 8 hours, I had only built one coal power plant. After I was about 8 hours in, I thought it would be a good idea to finally unlock steel production, and I created a factory for steel beams and steel pipes. Once this was done, I was able to unlock a bunch of milestones, such as blueprints, which will be very useful later. I did some exploration, and once I unlocked Miners Mark II and a bunch of new alternate recipes, I decided to change my steel factory quite a bit and make it produce encased industrial beams, steel pipes, stators, and motors. These items were basically the only ones that I had not automated yet at this point, and that allowed me to start the process of fulfilling the resources for phase 2 of the space elevator. This amount of work meant that I was now at 15 hours played and still had not created a single blueprint. So I decided to spend an hour making blueprints, which would allow me to go much faster later on. I then realized that power was going to be a limiting factor pretty quickly, so I decided to create a new coal power plant which was supposed to make 1500 megawatts, but due to an error in my calculations, it can actually only do 1200 megawatt. This is a mistake that I have not yet fixed, but will probably fix later. I actually just realized while writing the script that the mistake came from a miner which I placed down as a Mark 1 instead of a Mark 2. I might fix this quite early on in the next video depending on whether those 300 megawatts are actually going to be needed before I can achieve power with oil. I also didn't start the time-lapse recording until very late, so I have very little footage other than my first-person footage for this build, which honestly might not be the worst thing because this build is pretty much hacked together. But anyways, this single power plant took about 3 hours to build, which is weirdly not that much compared to the 5 hours it took me to build an 1800 megawatt power plant, which replaced my first 900 megawatt power plant. The main issues on this power plant was that I had to build a conveyor bus for the coal to make its way to the coal generators, and this took a solid 1.5 to 2 hours, because this was my first time building pillars for a conveyor bus, and I also decided to use blueprints in order to do that. This time, I did not make any mistakes, and the plant is functioning at maximum capacity, making it 100% efficient. This meant that I was now on my 25th hour, and I spent the last hour completing phase 2 of the space elevator. Once this was completed, I unlocked oil processing, meaning that we will be working on plastic and rubber factories at the beginning of the next video, and maybe fixing that coal power plant that is only producing 1200 megawatts. Until now, the challenges have been pretty moderate, and I'm also trying to make sure that I keep my factories pretty well organized. I haven't made any outrageous mistakes in the building process of my factories, but I know that the logistics of this game are usually what tends to trip me up. So if you have any tips for how to make efficient train lines, for example, or how to transport resources a long ways away, then let me know, as that is often the part I struggle with and I find most fastidious. On this note, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll leave you with a little tour of my factory. Bye bye.